the request for that Ganduje made to the traders union who came to Iowa traders union who came to visit him, which is basically give FCT chairman all the support he needs to strive. How critical is this for Wike right now, for the FCT, as a matter of fact?
Well, this is to be expected. It has just been inaugurated minister barely a week ago, and so one would expect that at this point he's going to reach out as many stakeholders as possible, get their buy-in, get their support for whatever program he intends to unfold in the FCT. I mean, even with the best of intentions as minister, it's unthinkable they're going to succeed if you don't get the buy-in of the people, or if there are fifth columnists even from within working to frustrate whatever beautiful schemes you come up with. So I think this is what all the ministers are doing at this stage, addressing their staff, reaching out to stakeholders in their sector and all that. And I think whichever way you look at it, you also admit that traders also occupy a very significant position in a city like Abuja. Remember the minister had also made some comments about street hawkers and the fact that they connive or collude with those who threaten the security of the city. So I think it's in keeping with this, I imagine that the chairman of the national chairman of the FCC, of the APC, has seized the opportunity of a visit, possibly a solidarity visit by Arewa traders, president in Abuja, to call on them to offer their support to the Minister of FCT. It's also important that it makes this kind of statement too. Remember that Wike is one of about 2 or 3 FCT ministers in the history of Nigeria are not northerners. So there's also the tendency that, people are going to assume that, he's not one of our own, he's an interloper, or he's not a northerner to start with, neither is he even from Abuja. So why is he minister of FCT? So I think this kind of thing is some kind of reassurance that, look, this person is the minister of the FCT. It doesn't matter where he comes from. So you need to give him that support that he needs. He's a Nigerian and he's entitled to that position. That's my only reading of the situation. I may be wrong, I admit, but I think it's something that ought to be done. And for me, there's nothing unusual in this, and there's nothing surprising even.
Okay. Now, but it may be a bit unusual, but we don't know right now if they are winning Wike, doing everything to a caption on the next show of present is the beautiful bride. It was the beautiful bride during the elections. It seems to still be the beautiful bride right now, because there seems to be this willingness to provide all the necessary support. But be that as it may, like NA said, the Ganduje also said it in that piece, he's from Rivers State, he's not an indigene and he's running the state, providing him with this critical support right now as a political party, and also asking the indigene to come on board. How much of this will impact the development that the FCT itself, both for residents and native, will get if this goes smoothly?
For me, I think we should also get it right. Abuja is a center of national unity.
But it has natives.
Abuja is the country's capital. Yes, it has natives. It has the Gwaris. And then 2 major groups, but very similar, that are actually the natives. They have every right as Arewa community, that is the 19 northern states and FCT to have visited. But we should also be careful about some of these tendencies. At any point in time, we should look at Abuja as a center of national unity. This is not the first time we have had people that are not indigenous to certain areas actually governing such areas. Abuja could be likened to the Lagos, where Musa Yaradua, that is the late Yaradua's father himself, was also at some point minister of Lagos. So in the case of Abuja, it has been overplayed somehow that for the first time, somebody from the South is becoming the minister of that place. Of course, every other person that has been minister of the Federal Capital Territory, there is none of them that had actually come from the indigenous groups of that Federal Capital Territory. So ours wouldn't be necessarily an exception. I think Wike has started well, and I agree with the response of the party chairman, but I look at it more speaking from the point of view of the party's position. Wike had clearly outlined what the expectations, his own expectations, and he has also defined his roadmap as to what he wants to do there. Security has been a major issue in Abuja in the last 8 years. Even if you check the social media until last weekend, you'll also see herdsmen, heading their cows around very major strategic points around Abuja, around the CBN area, grazing their cow around some of those areas. And beyond that, security had been a very major challenge, and that is key for the FCT minister to take complete charge of. Then security is also tied to the issue of lighting, which he raised, because he said he went around Abuja. For those who had traveled to Abuja very recently, you will also recall, you also see very clearly that much of Abuja is under darkness in the night. Much of Abuja is dark in the night. The street lights are not on. This was not the Abuja that we used to know in the last 30 years. I was somebody who had frequented Abuja in the last 30 years. So if you go back then, in the last 30 years, you'll find out that what we're having today is a complete shadow of what security is in Abuja, including the lighting system. For traders, yes, it's proper for them to have made this visit, but we have also seen markets springing up everywhere. So the FCT minister has his role clearly cut out for him, and the support from the Arewa community traders, I think it's right, and the call by the party chairman stating clearly their backing of Nyesom Wike to bring the necessary changes to the FCT. I think it's a step in the right direction, and we wish them well.